Hello, my friends. My name is Ryan Freeman. Welcome to my life. Welcome to this video. I wanted to talk about the uniqueness of each and every single one of us, both biologically and temperamentally, our psychology and our physical organism. I don't think we talk about this enough today, but unless there's a due appreciation for the individuality and the particular needs and drives and passions of each and every one of us, there's going to be a lot of damage. Now, one size does not fit all. What's good for the goose might not always be good for the gander. Okay, now, what does that mean? What's good for you might not be good for me. And I think one of the biggest tangible evils that we've ever seen in the history of our species is everyone trying to conform under one moral law, everyone trying to conform under one religion or one fashion or one type of education. We always try to streamline everything because obviously if we can streamline things, it seems more efficient. But I think that if you look at a lot of the greats, the great philosophers, the great thinkers, and the great physicians, they pay attention to the minute particulars. That was something that William Blake, one of the most famous English poets, thought was very important. Pay attention to the minute particulars. And when you actually explore who you are deeper and deeper, you might grow up and you like the same baseball team as all of your friends. You play the same games and sports and you learn in the same classrooms. But eventually, as you start to grow, you start to really show that you are actually quite different. The more that you explore in yourself, the more you explore your individuality. It's perhaps a luxury that we have today to a greater extent than thousands of years ago, where it was important for the tribe to be very cohesive. And I apologize if this seems like all of a bit of a quick mumbling rant, but I actually didn't plan this. I just came off the top of my head. But I do think it's a very important topic because, education, if you've been paying attention, public education has basically been failing in America for quite a lot of people. Girls do much better than boys. And some people have said because public education, the way that it is set up, is particularly suited to girls rather than boys. Boys who have more of a rambunctious natural energy, competitiveness, their energies are somewhat stifled. Now, I'm not an expert in that topic, but I have heard that from people like Jordan Peterson and other people talking about that. And then I also think that medicine, one size fits all does not. There's no medicine that's a one size fits all. You guys know that. Even with vaccines, which I'm not going to go down a political rant, but you read the inserts on the vaccines and it does kill some people. And all medicines can be very beneficial for a large swath of people, but they can also be very harmful for some individuals. And a great physician, a great doctor, is someone who takes into account your particular health, your family's history, your history, and everything about you. And even your diet, right? What food tastes good for you might not taste good for another person. What food benefits you might not benefit another person. I think Joe Rogan on his podcast had a guy named, maybe his name was John Wolf, something Wolf, and he was a nutrition expert, and he was talking about how all of these cutting edge nootropics and high quality supplements were very good for a lot of people, but could be very detrimental for other people. So what I'm trying to say is that you always want you particular, because the buck eventually stops with you, whether or not you trust your education to someone else or your health to someone else. The buck always stops with you, to take into account your individuality. What foods work for you? What medicines work for you? For some people, let's talk about sort of the recreational traditional medicines and drugs that we've used, such as alcohol or tobacco or marijuana. Obviously, all drugs can be harmful, but all drugs can be beneficial, just like fire can, warm your house, but it can also burn it down. Some people tend to get a pretty good benefit from alcohol. It lowers their stress being one of the largest, negative health factors that we all have to deal with. But some people, they just go crazy with alcohol. For some people, marijuana works. For some people, it definitely doesn't. makes them go a little schizoid. Psychedelics works differently upon various people. Perhaps some people shouldn't even touch it. Perhaps some people, that's their destiny to explore these things. So whenever we try to hold everyone accountable, why don't you think like I do? Why don't you follow the same religion as I do? Why don't you follow the same diet as I do? Why don't you do the same workouts as I do? Not every sport is going to be great for everyone. We all have inclinations. And I think it's very important to think as a metaphor of a variety of animals, or let's even say a variety of dog breeds. What's good for a Chihuahua might not be good for a Husky. A Husky needs a different environment, needs a different diet, needs a different activity regimen. And from what I've read from Aldous Huxley as well as other great thinkers, that the higher you go up in the phylogenetic chain, or basically in the evolutionary chain, and where we are, what scientists consider at the very top of the evolutionary ladder, you find a greater diversity amongst the species. So we are the most diverse of any species, if that theory is correct. But I think that if you look around, even within your family, even amongst your brothers and sisters who have the same blood pumping through their veins, just the various manifestations of very similar DNA can cause big differences in personality and temperament. And I think today is a great day to live, to be an individual, because there are so many options, there's so many ways to connect with like-minded people and to explore very many, a variety of different ways of life and jobs and places to go and see and friends. But in the same time, because of the sort of the high pressure that we get from social media, there is a sort of, conform, think this way about COVID, think this way about your health, think this way about everything. That there's always going to be a battle. It will never be very, very easy. Back in the day, in the hunter-gatherer days, if you were an extreme individual, you were generally outside the pale of the tribe, or you were a shaman, and it's taken a long time for us to actually develop this individuality, according to the philosophers I read. But just take it with a grain of salt anyways. So I think it's very important to always consider that, yes, we are a species, and all of us share the more common traits than different traits. We all need community, we all need love, we all need exercise, we all need nutrition, we all need the sun, we all need water. We have more similarities than we have differences, but to also understand those differences and to sort of, give yourself permission to be different, because the clothes that feel comfortable on you might not feel comfortable on another person. That's why there's different fashions, and not to follow a mold, but to follow your nature, because our natures are always crying for authenticity. And perhaps the spiritual path is, sort of a road of authenticity. And geniuses like Goethe or Shakespeare or Beethoven or Bach or anyone, scientists or artists of all greatness, were people who did not conform to a pattern but followed their inner nature. And so I guess that's sort of the random topic of the day, is that it's very important that, although of course you listen to medical advice and you listen to philosophical or religious advice from outside, and perhaps it is very suitable for you, perhaps it's not, but to make yourself, your gut, the thing that inside of you, Eric Fromm might have called it your natural conscience, not the conscience that was inculcated through some sort of education, but your natural conscience, which tells you this is right for my nature, this is wrong for my nature. And I find that for me, at least, there's been a big battle in my life between sort of the modalities of life that my family or religion or friends or society was predominating and tended to follow and wanting to fit in, but then also sort of the inner urge to follow what's inside of me towards what actually felt right. Of course, I think, there can be overlap, and the more that we can accept our individuality, I think the more we can accept others' individuality, right? And I think it's a more beautiful world with many different colored gems than all the gems looking very similar with just minor gradations. And I think also it's a very beautiful world when we do see all of these very interesting, unique individuals who have owned their individuality. Not everyone wearing the same baseball cap or wearing the same clothes. Not everyone conforming, but, truly being ourselves. Of course, exploring your individuality is not necessarily always easy, because you do perhaps have to confront your shadow in Jungian terms and look at all of those things that you had been ignoring. But that's also part of the fun and part of the spiritual growth and part of, let's not even use the word spiritual growth. I don't know if this makes sense. If this makes sense to you, or if you have any comments or questions, please write it down in the comments. My name is Ryan Freeman. Thank you for watching.